A dimly lit back room shrouded in cigar smoke. The air was thick, almost suffocating, with the pungent aroma of expensive cigars and the low hum of whispered conversations. Men in tailored suits spoke in hushed tones, their faces etched with concern. They were the power brokers, the unseen hands that moved the pieces on the chessboard of the underworld. At the head of the table sat Aelita, a woman who wore power like a second skin. Her presence was commanding, her authority unquestioned. Her silver hair was pulled back tight, her eyes like chips of ice. She had an aura of cold calculation, a mind always several steps ahead.
The shipment from Naples is late. The words hung in the air, heavy with implications.
A tremor of fear ran through the room. The men knew that failure was not an option, not under Aelita's watchful gaze. Aelita was not a woman to be trifled with. Her reputation was built on ruthless efficiency and an iron will. She had clawed her way to the top of the Russian Mafia, her hands stained with the blood of her enemies. Each scar, each drop of blood was a testament to her relentless pursuit of power. Her daughter Nastasia stood by the window, her face pale in the moonlight. She was a stark contrast to her mother, a delicate flower in a garden of thorns. Nastasia despised this world of shadows and violence. The constant fear, the endless cycle of retribution. It was a life she had never chosen. She longed for a life filled with sunlight and laughter, a life far removed from the suffocating grip of the Bratva. She dreamed of freedom, of a world where she could breathe easy. But how could she escape the destiny that had been thrust upon her? The weight of her lineage was a heavy burden, one that seemed impossible to shed. Days turned into weeks, each one a heavy weight on Nastasia's soul. The passage of time felt like an endless march, each moment dragging her deeper into a pit of despair. She felt the burden of her family's legacy pressing down on her, suffocating her dreams and aspirations. She couldn't bear the thought of following in her mother's footsteps, of becoming a creature of the night. The very idea of it filled her with dread, a cold shiver running down her spine every time she imagined that dark path. She longed for a different destiny, one that didn't involve shadows and secrets. The guilt gnawed at her. It was a relentless force, eating away at her resolve and making her question every decision. She felt trapped between her love for her mother and her own moral compass, which screamed at her to find another way. She loved her mother, but she couldn't condone her actions. The duality of her emotions tore at her heart, leaving her feeling fragmented and lost. She wanted to honor her mother, but not at the cost of her own soul.
I can't live like this anymore. The words came out in a whisper, but they carried the weight of a lifetime of pain and confusion. She knew she had to make a change, to break free from the chains that bound her.
One evening, Nastasia found solace in the arms of Luka, a young artist who saw past the family name, past the darkness that clung to her. He was a beacon of light in her dark world, offering her a glimpse of what life could be like without the weight of her family's sins. He spoke of a world where love and beauty triumphed, where dreams weren't shackled by blood and obligation. His words painted a picture of a life filled with color and joy, a stark contrast to the grayscale existence she had known. Luca's words were a lifeline, a beacon of hope in Nastasia's world of despair. They gave her something to hold on to, a reason to believe that she could escape the darkness that had enveloped her for so long. He awakened a longing within her, a desire for a different kind of life. For the first time she allowed herself to dream of a future that wasn't dictated by her family's past.
You deserve a life filled with love and beauty, Nastasia. His words were a balm to her wounded soul, offering her the validation she had been seeking for so long.
For the first time, Nastasia dared to imagine a future free from the Mafia's chains. She stood by the window looking out at the world with new eyes filled with hope and determination. A future where she could be her true self, unburdened by the sins of her family. A future where she could finally breathe freely and live a life of her own choosing. Luca's love gave Nastasia the strength she needed to confront her destiny. It was a love forged in the fires of adversity, a bond that grew stronger with each challenge they faced together. Luca's unwavering support was the beacon that guided Nastasia through the darkest times. She knew she couldn't change her past, but she could choose her future. The memories of her past were like shadows, always present but never defining her. She stood at a crossroads, contemplating the path that lay ahead, determined to carve out a new destiny. Escape would be dangerous, but the thought of remaining trapped within the Mafia's web was unbearable. The city was a labyrinth of danger, each corner hiding potential threats. Yet, the fear of staying was greater than the fear of the unknown. She would risk everything for a chance at happiness. The rain poured down, but it couldn't wash away her resolve. With a suitcase in hand and determination in her eyes, she was ready to embark on this perilous journey.
I can't stay here, Luca. We have to go. The urgency in her voice was palpable, a mix of fear and determination. She knew that every second counted, and hesitation could mean the difference between freedom and captivity.
Luca's connections provided a way out, a chance to disappear. He had spent years building a network of allies, people who owed him favors. These connections were now their lifeline, their ticket to a new beginning. He had contacts in South America, people who could help them vanish. The plan was intricate, involving multiple steps and countless risks, but it was their best shot at escaping the clutches of the Mafia. The plan was risky, fraught with danger, but it was their only hope. Every move had to be calculated, every step taken with caution. The shadows seemed to close in on them, but they pressed on, driven by the promise of freedom.
We'll make it, Nastasia. Together we'll find our freedom. His words were a vow, a promise that they would not be broken by the trials ahead. Their bond was their strength, and together, they would overcome any obstacle.
The plan was set. Every detail had been meticulously thought out, every contingency considered. They knew the risks, but they also knew the stakes. They would risk everything for a chance at a new life. The journey ahead was uncertain, but their resolve was unshakable. Together, they would face whatever came their way, united by their shared dream of freedom. The air crackled with tension. Alita's eyes narrowed. She had sensed her daughter's defiance for weeks.
You will address me as Kresnaya Mat. You will remember your place. I can't do this anymore, Mama. I don't want this life. I want to be free.
Alita's face contorted with rage.
You dare defy me? You are my blood. You will do as I command.
The room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in as the confrontation escalated. Nastasia knew she couldn't win this battle, not with words. She had to escape, even if it meant leaving everything behind. She turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. Behind her, she heard her mother's roar of fury.
She didn't dare look back. Luca was waiting, a car idling in the shadows. They sped away into the night, leaving behind the gilded cage of her life.
The future was uncertain, a vast unknown stretching before her. But for the first time in her life, Nastasia felt a glimmer of hope. She was free.